I read the news so that you don't have to. Have you heard about the foreign aid scam? So Western governments make this really big deal about their apparent benevolence when they're giving all of this aid to those poor little countries that can't look after themselves. Yeah. Anyway, how this works is I normally read a physical paper, and when I read the physical paper, I'm like, let me go and find the headline so I can put it in these stories. So when I was searching through for the digital headline, I came across this. EU foreign aid takes transactional turn with Africa minerals push. And I was like, oh, that's different, because when I read it in the newspaper, it said this. EU accused of putting its own interest first in development aid. And when I read that headline, I was shocked. Shocked! So now that they're finally saying the quiet part out loud, let's see what the story's about. First, I need to introduce you to the Lobito Corridor. It is a 1,300-kilometer railway that runs all the way from Zambia's copper belt to Angola's Atlantic port of Lobito. This railway was originally built by colonial powers to help the poor people of Africa. Ha! Psych! No, it was built to extract minerals for European markets. And now it's being revived to move millions of tons of copper by 2030 at the exact moment where copper is critical for European clean tech, EV, and energy transition goals. Such a coincidence. The project is being funded by European member states, the US, the African Development Bank, and private firms. The EU alone is giving 2 billion euros. And here's the thing. The EU has been very explicit about the fact that this aid is about securing critical minerals, energy security, geopolitical influence, and migration control. The EU's own commissioner said, yes, we are getting copper. And some of you may be thinking, well, what's the problem? They're getting a new railway. Does this infrastructure benefit the local community? No. The primary function of the railway is to transport copper, not to integrate local economies. And the local value added part, the refining, the processing, that's a possibility, not a guarantee in the future. Who are the winners? Is it the local people of Angola or Zambia or anywhere in the African nations? Don't be silly. It's the European firms. In fact, as part of the EU's Global Gateway strategy, this project is going to provide grants and loans and guarantees for European firms to help de-risk them. So just to be clear, this project, which mirrors colonial extraction routes, has decision-making that is donor-led, not community-led, and openly states that development outcomes for local people is vague and deferred or may not even be materializing. This is going under the banner of development aid. Colonialism never died, it just rebranded.
Kwame Nkrumah Osajifo from Ghana, he was the first man to lead Ghana out of British control. And Osajifo Kwame Nkrumah had a vision that he got from Marcus Garvey. So you had the Black Star in Accra. He said he wanted to see the United States of Africa. Gamal Abdel Nasser had that same vision. Well, I was with Muammar Gaddafi when Gaddafi insert in 1999 advanced coming out of the OAU to the African Union with a vision of the United States of Africa. Muammar Gaddafi spent, listen to me, billions of dollars to create the African Union. Did you know that Gaddafi gave $300 million and the other African nations gave $100 million to put up a satellite so that we who call Africa don't have to go through Europe to get to Africa? And Europe was getting $500 million a year just by our telephone calls to the continent. Now we can call directly to Africa, and that $500 million is in the hand of African people. Did you know that Muammar Gaddafi was setting up an African development bank with $70 billion in the African Development Bank from Libyan oil money? That we would not have to borrow money from the IMF and the World Bank at these exorbitant rates, zero interest. under Islamic non-usury teachings. I just left St. Kitts, and in the island of St. Kitts, he was going to set up a Caribbean Development Bank. He told the Prime Minister there, and he was going to put $1 billion in that bank for Caribbean development.
So this rebalancing is happening. He's having a particular tantrum, by the way, because the United States is in a deeply neurotic funk. You know what the cause of that neurosis is? China. A wonderful, brilliant civilization, 4,000 years old plus. It's been a unified state with brilliant statecraft for more than 2,000 years. Unlike Europe, in which every country of Europe fought every other country of Europe every year for 1,000 years. Most of the time, China was peaceful, united. It fragmented temporarily at some points, but it was mainly a unified country that actually, strangely enough, didn't beat up its neighbors also. So China, for 1,000 years, never attacked Japan, for example. Can you imagine? Britain couldn't keep its hands off any place for more than a year or two at a time. It had to go beat up somebody. And the United States doesn't even take a year off. I don't know the truth yet. It could be an accident, but I don't think so. Today, a major refinery in Venezuela suddenly exploded. That seems a lot like the CIA to me. I don't guarantee it. We don't have any more news. But last week, President Trump said he had assigned the CIA to operations inside Venezuela, and a week later, suddenly the biggest refinery blows up. So the United States can hardly go a week at a time without trying to kill somebody. But China actually goes centuries without attacking its neighbors. So China went for 1,000 years without once invading Japan, a near neighbor, even though China was much more powerful. Incidentally, from 2 times, there was an attempt to invade Japan from the Chinese mainland, but that was when China had been conquered by the Mongols. So 800 years ago, roughly, they tried twice. The Mongols tried to invade Japan, and they were defeated both times. But the Chinese never tried. The Japanese actually, sadly, invaded China many times, but never the other way around. And the Chinese never invaded Korea.
And you're all arguing and fighting with each other over a term that does not apply to you. Christopher Columbus is neither is Africanus our origin. So you call yourself an African, you are not an African. You are before there was an Africa. Look at yourself. I'm an African American. Stop it! One of the grafted members of a grafted people, Johnny come Lakers on. Call yourself an American, both of them named by Caucasian people. What did you mean that underneath? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, what is the square mileage of the earth? How much is the land and how much is the water? The earth is 196,940,000 square miles. And the land is 57,255,000 square miles. And the water is 139,685,000 square miles. Don't tell me about Africa's my home. No, the earth is my home. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, and we are the Lord's, that the fullness of the earth belongs to. So don't you narrow yourself again after today. We know what you mean when you say I'm an African. We understand that. But you got to grow up now into a deeper knowledge.
Right, welcome back, family. According to the speech of Jeffrey Sachs and Louis Farrakhan, the Europeans have been always blackmailing Africans and the black people because of what they portrayed Africa to look like, because of what they made the black people to believe, because of what they made the world to look to the Africans, the black people. So they made us to believe that we need them. They made us to believe that we needed them. And from what the white people today or the Europeans are saying is that it is just a blackmail, because for the longest time, those people made us to believe that we needed them most. But when it comes to reality, they know what they mean. They know well that they needed us most, because every time Africa tries to rise, they make sure that they limit it, they stop it. They stop it through the gunshot. They stop it through the Pan-Africanists. When they destroy Pan-Africanists, the time they shot Kwame Nkrumah's head, Patrice Lumumba, and other Pan-Africanists who are trying to fight for the unity and the great agenda of unity of Africa, that's when they were trying to stop Africa from rising. That's why they were trying to stop Africa from awakening. But now, it has come to the point where everyone today knows the truth. It has come to the point where today the world knows the truth. Something different has happened just a few days ago. If you can remember the Aisha Speed when he was in Africa. Aisha Speed when he was in Africa, he was not about the live streaming alone. The world was not watching Aisha Speed because of streaming. The Africans were not turning out in large number to show up because of the Aisha Speed tour. But they were doing this just to show the world Africa's strength. They were doing this just to prove to the world that what you are told is not what is here. They are trying to prove to the world that how you view Africa is not how it is, but this is the real Africa. This is the truth that was hidden from you. So the world be after watching Africa through the Aisha Speed tour. That's when everything changed. That's when the narrative changed. That's when people came to realize that all that was said was lie. That's when the people realized that Africa, how it was painted, is not how it is. And now this truth has been always limited, not to reach to other people. This truth has been buried for the longest time so that the world cannot be able to know what real Africa is. So when they come out to tell the world that Africa is poor, Africa is dirty, Africa is insecure, Africa, all these claims, the world have to fear. Some people that have been always viewing Africa's jungle as forest, as a zoo of animals, but not a place that has cities, that has the skyscrapers, that has roads, that has vehicles, that has Wi-Fi. So there's some people, mostly the black Americans, the African Americans, who are viewing Africa and they shed tears because they see a total different thing in much far from what they were told. So today, the narrative has changed. And they have been always manipulating Africans, blackmailing them, so that the Africans can remain irrelevant, not knowing what they want, not knowing what to do to make African continent to develop. But now, they have tried to do all this for the longest time. But the time has come whereby no one can tell the black man or the Africans what to do. No one can come and tell us what to believe in. because we know what to believe in. We know who we are. We know all that has been making us not to develop. We know all that has making us not to achieve our great agendas. That's why today you see Africans are united. Africans are trying to make sure that they protect a leader who is trying to come out to speak about the interest of Africa. That's why today you see, for example, the leaders in Sahel like Ibrahim Traore, they're being protected by Africans because Africans have learned to know that these are the only leaders who can make us to achieve our agendas. These are the only people who can show us the way, who can give us courage, and who can awaken us to know who we are, how valuable we are, and what we were made to be. Because we were made to be great. But the world made us to be looked down, made us to believe that we were nothing, we were inferior, and we were nothing to do with the world. So I do really respect, and I always follow the speeches of Louis Farrakhan because they're doing great by exposing Africa in a positive way, trying to expose Africa, trying to remind Africans and give Africans hopes that Africa is rising. And this time, no one can stop this from happening because they tried to stop everyone who tried to come out and stand firm, stand tall to make this great continent great by eliminating them. But now it has to come to the point where the truth is out. And there are some people, and many people, even the white people, who are asking tough questions that even their leaders cannot answer. Because when someone made you to believe that you are the dependent, you are a parasite, and it comes to the point where he's watching you from far and see like you are just doing great, you are doing good, you are strong, you are showing your strength, even without his presence, then this person must panic, must have worried, must be. And that's what is happening today. Because when you watch all that is happening today across the world, how the Europe is responding to Africa, because they have tried to fail it. Because when Africa resists, the Europe feel it. And when they feel it, something happens. They start to panic because they're feeling like they're asking these questions. What if we lose these people completely? What will happen? And what will happen automatically? I have the answer. I know what will happen if they fully lose the black man, if they fully lose the continent of Africa, because this continent is what built them. What is in this soil of African continent is what has made them to be superior and to be in that position where they are today, being called superior, being respected, and being and them taking advantage to other people. So they must worry about this. But as we know, that the promises and the prophecies must be fulfilled, the truth must be prevailed, and every lie that was put there and people believed in must be broken, and this chain of control dominate and must be broken. It needs sacrifice, and that's why you see today the black people, Africans, are sacrificing to make sure that we stand in our lane and no one will be able or will be allowed to come interfere with what we're doing. That's why you see Pan-Africans are increasing and rising every day. That's why you see African youths are coming on the street every day. That's why you see African youth are turning into YouTubers so that they can pass the messages, so that they can spread positivity, so that they can expose Africa to the world, so that the world can see what we are and what we are made of. So all that has been there for the longest time, it was blackmailing. All these things like the foreign aids, all these, they come here to introduce in Africa, they pretend like they're coming to help. It was all the blackmail. So that we keep on having that mentality that without Europe, without America, without Britain, we as Africans, we are dead. And now today, we are just trying to show them that without them, we are much stronger. So for you to believe that all that's happening is true, and this is what they have never wanted the world and the Africans to know, if they know well that they were here to help Africans, then why today they are resisting not to leave, even after they are being requested to leave? Why they are so reluctant? They are not ready to let Africans go, even after we say that we no longer need their control, we no longer need their help, we no longer need them. Why are they so reluctant not to let the Africans go? Because they know that Africa is what has been feeding them for the longest time. They know. Behind everything that's happening, they know the truth. That is what gives me hope every day. It's so pleasure to see how Africans are rising, how they're resisting, how they're fighting against the imperialists, how they're fighting against the puppet leaders. Because the puppet leaders, the one who have been making this great agenda of Africa's unity not to achieve, not to be to come through, because of their greedy, because of their evil-minded. So I'm here to make sure that we share our views to spread positivity across Africa, because the time of manipulation has come to an end. This is the new Africa's era, and we feel it, and the world must feel it. Something is going to change. Africa is going to dominate. Africa is going to rule, and we are going to be respected as how it was planned. Let me have your voice in the comment section. You are doing great by tuning in, and peace out.